Within you lies a God-given power, an ancient force through which anything can be manifested when it is properly understood. In God-given power, you will uncover the hidden law that awakens this ability within your own consciousness. Learn it carefully, and once you know it, keep your mouth shut, for some truths are meant only for those ready to hold them. God-given power. Introduction. Within the silent chambers of your being sleeps a power older than the stars. Before the first dawn stretched its light across the cosmos, before time learned to count its moments, this force already existed, and from it you were formed. It does not wait for belief, nor does it demand recognition. Just as the unseen hand of gravity guides planets through the vastness of space, this power quietly shapes the fabric of your life. It simply is, and you are a living thread, woven into its infinite design. The law of attraction is not a method to be forced or a ritual to be perfected. It is a forgotten memory of the soul. It flows through you as effortlessly as breath and as steadily as the rhythm of your heartbeat. Every thought you release into the universe carries a spark of the same creative fire that once ignited the first sunrise. When your mind begins to resonate with the deeper harmony of creation, manifestation ceases to feel like effort. It becomes as natural as the tide answering the moon. There is no need to call out loudly to the heavens or surround your intentions with elaborate ceremony. True power whispers rather than shouts. It lives in the quiet certainty within you, the deep knowing that you are not merely a witness to creation, but an expression of it. Your thoughts become sacred whispers moving through the heart of the universe. Your words become seeds falling into the boundless soil of possibility, where unseen forces patiently shape them into reality. The universe does not bend to urgency or struggle. It listens to resonance. When your thoughts, emotions, and words move in harmony with your deepest nature, reality begins to rearrange itself around you, softly, fluidly, like a river finding its path around stone. This journey is not about mastering the outer world. It is about remembering your place within it. You are not separate from the creative force you seek to awaken. You are its reflection, its vessel, its voice in human form. The true secret lies not in doing more, but in remembering more deeply who you are. When you embrace your nature as a bearer of divine imagination, creation begins to move through you effortlessly. There is no strain, no struggle, only alignment. And in that alignment, the universe quietly conspires to mirror the truth you hold within. This power has never been absent. It has only been waiting for you to remember. Before we get into the book, comment "I am ready" to affirm your intention to the universe. Part 1. The Awakening of Divine Remembering. Chapter 1. The Whisper in the Mind. In ancient times, beside flowing waters, understanding often dawned like morning light. So it was with Harriet May, who sat watching a mountain brook dance over stones. Day after day she visited this spot, wishing intensely for changes in her life. Until one pristine morning, as sunlight sparkled on the water's surface, wisdom touched her heart. The brook did not wish to flow. It simply followed its nature. In that moment her perspective transformed. Her yearning itself was a message from the universe, a whisper that what she sought already existed within her reach. This truth echoes through the ages. Manifestation begins not in asking, but in remembering. Your desires are not random wishes, but divine seeds planted in the soil of your consciousness. When you feel a deep longing for something, recognize it as evidence that this very thing already exists in the spiritual realm, waiting to materialize in your physical experience. Consider the tale of Clyde Everett, whose small clockmaking shop sat in a quiet town square. Instead of fretting over sales, he began each morning by expressing genuine gratitude for time itself, for every tick, every moment, every turning gear. He didn't plead with the universe for customers. Rather, his appreciation for his craft radiated outward like ripples on still water. Soon people began appearing at his door, drawn by an inexplicable pull. His watches seemed to find their own homes, carried by the current of his quiet certainty. These stories illuminate a fundamental truth. Life responds not to desperate wanting, but to peaceful knowing. When longing matures into certainty, the universe arranges itself accordingly. Your role is not to beg the infinite for favors, but to align with the abundance already flowing through creation's veins. The ancient practice of divine alignment. As each day draws to a close, find a quiet moment before sleep. Settle into a comfortable position and allow your breath to flow naturally, imagining that the breath of creation itself moves through you. In this sacred space, silently affirm that what you desire already belongs to your spiritual inheritance. Let this knowing infuse your being, softening your words and thoughts throughout your days. Your quiet confidence becomes a prayer that moves through the fabric of reality, gently rearranging matter to match your inner certainty. Like the brook that flows without wishing, let your manifestations emerge from the natural expression of who you truly are. Chapter 2. The Power of Inner Voice. In the sacred chambers of your mind, thoughts dance like flames, casting shadows and light upon the canvas of existence. Yet it is through the gateway of speech that these thoughts take form in the physical realm. When Lila Grace discovered this truth, it came not through triumph, but through the mirror of her own misaligned words. Day after day, Lila would voice her uncertainties. "Nothing ever works out for me," she would say, or "I always attract the wrong opportunities." As surely as water follows the path carved in earth, her experiences aligned with these proclamations. Each spoken doubt manifested as a closed door, a missed chance, a confirmation of her fears. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, does not judge your words as positive or negative. It simply responds with yes. Every utterance becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of creation. Your speech carries the power of divine declaration, for you are made in the image of the great Creator who spoke worlds into being. When Lila finally understood this principle, she began to guard her speech as carefully as a temple keeper tends sacred flames. The transformation wasn't immediate, but it was inevitable. As she learned to speak with intention and grace, the very fabric of her reality began to shift, like morning mist giving way to sunlight. Consider now the tale of Robert Jedd, whose garden became a testament to the power of blessed speech. While others saw plants as silent beings, Robert understood them as listeners in the great conversation of life. He would walk among his flowers at dawn, whispering words of growth and vitality. His voice carried not just sound, but the vibration of pure belief. Soon, his garden bloomed with unprecedented vigor. Roses opened larger than any in the neighborhood, vegetables grew abundant and sweet, and even in harsh seasons, his plants thrived. Visitors would ask about his methods, expecting to learn of special fertilizers or techniques. But Robert's secret lay in the simple practice of speaking life into his garden. Through Robert's story, we glimpse a fundamental truth. Tone carries more power than mere words. His plants responded not to the intellectual meaning of his speech, but to the frequency of his love and certainty. Just as musical notes can shatter glass or heal the heart, your voice carries vibrational power that shapes the physical world. Ancient practice. Find a quiet space each morning before the world stirs. Begin by whispering gentle blessings over your future as though nurturing a delicate seedling. Pay attention to your inner dialogue throughout the day. When you catch yourself in patterns of negative speech, pause. Breathe deeply and realign your words with divine truth. Let your voice become an instrument of creation, playing notes of possibility and abundance. Practice this until you're very. Chapter 3. The Field of Possibility. In the depths of every mind lies a sacred recording, etching each thought into the fabric of existence. This truth revealed itself to Millie Jo through the chapters of her journal, where patterns emerged like constellations in the night sky. Day after day, she noticed how similar thoughts clustered together, creating unmistakable themes that shaped her experiences. Her worries about financial strain filled entire weeks of entries, followed by precisely those struggles manifesting in her life. Yet when her writings turned toward abundance, unexpected blessings appeared with equal precision. The universe operates as an infinite field of response, ever attentive to the frequency of your thoughts. Like attracts like with mathematical accuracy, not by chance but by divine law. Your mind is not merely observing reality. It is engaging in continuous creation with the infinite intelligence that sustains all things. Each thought sends ripples through this field, drawing back experiences that match its essence. Franklin Dean understood this principle through his art. Before touching brush to canvas, he would spend hours in quiet contemplation, describing in vivid detail the quality of light he intended to capture. He spoke of how sunbeams would dance across water, how shadows would deepen beneath trees, how dawn's first rays would kiss the morning dew. These were not mere descriptions, but declarations to the universe. When he finally began to paint, the images flowed from his brush with supernatural ease, as though they had already existed in some higher realm, waiting only for his recognition to make them manifest. Your imagination is not fantasy. It is the preview of forthcoming attractions in the theater of your life. The universe responds not to what you wish for, but to what you hold as real in the sacred space of your mind. When you understand this power, you realize that every moment of visualization is a prayer, every detailed picture a blueprint that the universe rushes to fulfill. The key lies not in forcing outcomes, but in achieving such clarity of vision that reality has no choice but to conform. Your inner world is the mold into which the universal substance flows. Hold your desires with the same certainty with which you expect the sun to rise, and watch as life arranges itself to match your conviction. Practice. Close your eyes and picture your reality as complete, not pending. Let gratitude saturate the image until emotion and picture merge. Carry that harmony quietly so each day rearranges itself to agree with your inner certainty. Chapter 4. The Silent Magnet. In the ancient scrolls of wisdom, a truth whispers across time. The most potent forces move in silence, like the roots that quietly nourish mighty oaks or the invisible gravity that holds planets in their dance. True power requires no announcement. Daisy Lou's journey unveils this timeless principle. In her early days, she would share her aspirations with anyone who would listen, speaking of future success with passionate intensity. Yet each proclamation seemed to drain the very energy needed for manifestation. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, taught her that dreams are like delicate butterflies. They thrive best in the protected space of inner sanctuary. When Daisy learned to cradle her desires in the sacred chamber of her heart, something remarkable transpired. Rather than diminishing through exposure, her dreams gained strength in silence. She discovered that private certainty carries more magnetic force than public declaration. As she cultivated this intimate relationship with her visions, life began orchestrating itself around her unspoken knowing. The law of attraction operates through this subtle mechanism, not through the loudness of want, but through the quiet certainty of having. Each time you share an unrealized dream, you risk dispersing its gathering momentum. The universe responds not to what you say, but to the electric charge of your private conviction. Howard Clyde's experience further illuminates this principle. His quest for inner peace became a silent pact between his soul and the infinite. He sought no validation, shared no updates, posted no progress reports. Instead, he allowed tranquility to take root in the fertile soil of his private contemplation. Without fanfare or announcement, serenity bloomed naturally in his life, transforming his very nature. Your desires are sacred seeds entrusted to you by the divine. They require the nurturing darkness of privacy to germinate and grow strong. When you feel the urge to broadcast your dreams, remember that the most powerful transformations occur in silence. The universe already knows your heart's whispers. No amplification is needed. Ancient practice. Find a quiet moment each day to sit in sacred silence. Hold your vision in your heart like a precious secret shared only between you and the infinite. Let your certainty deepen in this private space, knowing that what is held in reverent silence gains divine momentum. Trust that just as a seed transforms unseen beneath the soil, your dreams are gathering force in the quiet of your faithful expectation. Practice this silent communion until manifestation becomes as natural as dawn following night. Chapter 5. The Mirror Principle. In the quietude of your own heart lies the most potent force of transformation, the way you perceive yourself. This truth, ancient as the stars yet fresh as morning dew, shapes the very fabric of your experience with unwavering precision. Betty Ann's revelation illuminates a universal principle. The outer world arranges itself to match your inner reflection. For years she moved through life like a shadow, believing herself unremarkable. Yet in that sacred moment before her mirror, when gratitude replaced judgment, she activated a cosmic law that could no longer be denied. Her simple act of self-appreciation rippled outward, touching everyone she encountered. The universe operates through perfect resonance. What you hold in your heart creates a magnetic field that draws corresponding experiences toward you. When you treat yourself as worthy of love, the world conspires to confirm this truth. This is not mere coincidence, but the operation of an immutable spiritual law. Gordon Lee's story further unveils this principle from another angle. His shift from resistance to receptivity transformed what appeared as obstacles into opportunities for growth. In choosing to view life's challenges as sacred teachings rather than burdens, he altered the very nature of his experience. The universe, ever faithful to our deepest beliefs, began presenting him with wisdom where once he saw only woe. These teachings whisper of a profound truth. Your relationship with yourself sets the template for all other relationships, including your relationship with abundance, joy, and fulfillment. When you criticize yourself, you create resistance to the very blessing seeking to reach you. But when you embrace yourself with genuine appreciation, you open a channel through which divine grace flows naturally. The law operates with mathematical precision, yet it flows through the heart. Each thought you hold about yourself becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of universal consciousness. Your self-perception acts as a command to the cosmos, instructing it in the exact manner of its response to you. Ancient practice. As the sun rises each morning, stand before your reflection. Let your smile be genuine, as though greeting a beloved friend. Speak these words with quiet certainty. I am a living expression of divine generosity. All good flows to me and through me. Maintain this practice for 40 days, watching as your external world begins to mirror the warmth of your self-regard. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, will respond with unmistakable precision to this new frequency you establish. Chapter 6. The Sacred Emotion of Trust. Throughout the ages, those who mastered manifestation understood a truth so simple it often eludes the seeking mind. What you see in the mirror of life reflects not your circumstances, but your relationship with yourself. The outer world arranges itself with unfailing precision to match your inner dialogue, your self-image, and most importantly, your emotional stance toward your own being. When Clarabelle approached each desire with trembling hands and anxious heart, she discovered her prayers seemed to dissolve before reaching their destination. Like water slipping through clenched fingers, her manifestations remained elusive. Her story illuminates a vital truth. The universe responds not to the words we speak, but to the feeling tone that accompanies them. When every prayer carries the weight of worry, it anchors itself in the very lack it seeks to transcend. The law of the mirror operates with divine precision. It must reflect back the exact frequency you emit. If you stand before a mirror frowning, the reflection cannot smile. Similarly, when you approach manifestation with anxiety about its arrival, you activate the very energy of not having that keeps your desire at bay. Ernest Ray's tale offers profound wisdom in its beautiful simplicity. Upon losing his position, rather than surrendering to despair, he chose to dance. In that moment, he aligned himself with the vibration of joy, not because of his circumstances, but despite them. His celebration wasn't denial, it was supreme understanding. He knew that his outer world would have no choice but to reorganize itself to match his inner state of being. Within a week, opportunities arose that surpassed his previous employment. The universe didn't respond to his dance. It responded to his unshakable knowing that all was well. This reveals the hidden mathematics of manifestation. Joy before evidence creates evidence of joy. This principle extends beyond mere positive thinking. It is the ancient art of living from the end result, of feeling the fulfillment before its physical arrival. When you genuinely celebrate what has not yet manifested in form, you align with the creative force that births worlds into being. Ancient practice, the premature celebration. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Close your eyes and bring to mind something you deeply desire. Rather than yearning for it, begin to celebrate its presence as if it has already arrived. Let your body feel the joy, the relief, the excitement of its completion. Dance as Ernest Ray did. Laugh as though your blessing stands before you. Make this celebration a daily practice, thanking the universe for what your physical eyes have yet to witness. Continue until the feeling of having transcends the awareness of wanting. In this sacred practice, you'll discover that faith isn't about waiting patiently. It's about celebrating prematurely. For in the realm of spirit, there is no time. What you feel deeply today must, by universal law, materialize tomorrow. Chapter 7. Aligning Desire and Worthiness. In the quiet hours before dawn, Beatrice Lynn would stand outside her tiny apartment, inhaling the aroma of fresh bread from the bakery across the street. Each morning she carried dreams of her own establishment, yet something within her whispered she wasn't worthy of such grace. The universe responded not to her desire, but to this deeper current of doubt flowing beneath her wishes. The law of attraction operates with pristine precision, not through the loudness of want, but through the quiet certainty of acceptance. When you hold yourself apart from your blessings, treating them as treasures meant for others, you create a chasm no amount of positive thinking can bridge. Your thoughts may reach toward abundance, but your being must become a vessel ready to receive. Walter Benn understood this truth through music. For years, his melodies remained locked within, deemed too personal for sharing. He saw his gift as something to protect rather than distribute, until wisdom awakened him to a profound truth. Talent flows from the divine, not for personal glory, but as a channel of blessing. The moment he began introducing himself as one who serves through sound, rather than one who seeks acclaim, doors opened without effort. Venues called before he inquired, audiences gathered before he announced, and harmony flowed between his intention and reality. The sacred mathematics of manifestation multiply through allowance. When you position yourself as worthy of your desires, not through arrogance but through recognition of divine birthright, the universe conspires to confirm this truth. Your worth isn't earned, it simply is. Your dreams aren't granted, they're remembered. To manifest is to remember who you truly are, a divine expression perfectly positioned to receive good. When doubt whispers unworthiness, it speaks against the very nature of creation. The divine force that breathed stars into being placed those dreams within your heart as seeds meant to flourish. Ancient practice of allowance. Speak to the divine as though conversing with the closest of friends. Begin each day by saying, "I am ready to receive the good that seeks me. My desires are divine inspiration in disguise, and I welcome their fulfillment with open arms." Let these words settle into your being until they feel as natural as breathing. Your readiness to receive is itself a form of prayer. Chapter 8. Energy follows joy. In the quiet solitude of her garden, Marie Ellen had spent countless hours trying to bend life to her will. Each morning brought new lists, schedules, and rigid plans, all carefully crafted to control the flow of abundance into her life. Yet the more she grasped, the more elusive her desires became, like water slipping through tightly clenched fingers. Then came that remarkable autumn afternoon. Perhaps it was the way sunlight danced through golden leaves, or how the wind carried the scent of ripening apples. Without reason or prompting, laughter bubbled up from deep within her being. As the sound of her own joy filled the air, Marie Ellen felt something shift in the fabric of her reality. In that moment of pure, unburdened delight, she understood what years of striving had concealed. The universe responds not to force but to frequency. This simple truth reveals the essential nature of manifestation. Joy is not the result of abundance, but its very source. When you align with the natural rhythm of delight, you tap into the same creative current that causes flowers to bloom and stars to shine. The divine force that orchestrates creation does not toil or strain, it plays. Chester Paul's story amplifies this wisdom. For 15 years he had approached his work at the auto repair shop with grim determination. Each day felt heavy with obligation until, on a whim, he began whistling old tunes while working. The simple act transformed his energy, and soon customers remarked on the lightness they felt in his presence. Without any additional advertising or effort, his business flourished. People began driving extra miles just to bring their vehicles to the whistling mechanic. The message whispers clear as morning dew. When you infuse your actions with joy, you speak the native language of the universe. Creation itself is an expression of divine delight, and when you match this frequency, you become a natural channel for abundance. Ancient practice for awakening. Joy. Find a quiet moment at sunrise or sunset. Sit comfortably and bring your attention to your breath. Now, recall 3 moments from your day that sparked even the smallest flicker of joy. Perhaps the warmth of sunlight on your face, the taste of morning tea, or the sound of birds singing. Let these memories wash over you without analysis or judgment. As you hold these joyful moments in your awareness, allow a gentle smile to form on your lips. Feel how this simple act shifts your entire energy field. Carry this practice forward into your day, seeking out reasons for delight in the most ordinary circumstances. Watch how the universe begins to mirror your joy, creating an ever-expanding spiral of abundance and blessing. Remember, the divine does not require your struggle. It awaits your pleasure. Chapter 9. Wealth of Spirit. In the quiet village where Nancy Jean lived, she kept meticulous ledgers of every coin that passed through her hands. Each evening, she would count her earnings twice, believing that careful tracking would somehow multiply her wealth. Yet despite her precise calculations, abundance remained elusive, slipping through her fingers like water through a tightly clenched fist. Then one morning, as she walked to her small shop, she noticed an elderly woman struggling with heavy baskets. Without thinking of cost or return, Nancy Jean spent an hour helping the woman home. That same afternoon, a wealthy merchant entered her shop, drawn by what he called the warmth of the place, and placed an order larger than any she had seen in years. This simple shift revealed the ancient truth. Abundance flows not through rigid channels of calculation, but through the open passages of a generous heart. When you release the need to measure every transaction, the universe responds with unmeasured returns. Alvin Rees understood this principle in the midst of his own scarcity. As a humble carpenter with barely enough wood to complete his projects, he began giving away small carved toys to children who passed his workshop. His fellow craftsmen warned him of waste, yet with each gift given, new commissions appeared as if carried on the wind of his kindness. Orders flowed in from unexpected sources, and materials arrived through surprising channels. The mathematics of the universe operate beyond mortal accounting. When you give freely, you align with the infinite flow of divine abundance. Each act of generosity creates ripples in the spiritual economy, returning multiplied through channels you could never calculate. This wisdom whispers through the ages. Circulation activates divine multiplication. The moment you release your grip on scarcity, abundance recognizes itself in your actions and rushes to meet you. Your generosity becomes a signal to the universe that you trust in its unlimited supply. Sacred practice. Each day, offer something from your heart without expectation of return. This might be a moment of genuine attention, a word of sincere praise, or an act of unexpected kindness. As you give, visualize yourself as a channel through which divine abundance flows. Feel the warmth of giving replace any concern for receiving. Watch how the universe, in its perfect timing, replenishes you in ways that transcend your initial offering. Chapter 10. The Gateway of Stillness. Long ago, Florence K. wandered from teacher to teacher, collecting wisdom like precious stones. Yet with each new lesson, her confusion only deepened. She consulted mystics and merchants, scholars and sages, until her mind became a crowded marketplace of competing voices. Each morning brought new questions, each evening fresh uncertainties. One day, exhausted from her endless seeking, Florence found herself beside a mountain pool. For the first time in years, she stopped asking. In that moment of surrender, the water's surface became still, reflecting the sky with perfect clarity. As her mind quieted, answers began rising like bubbles from the depths of her being. She realized that wisdom had always dwelled within, waiting for silence to speak. The universe operates through subtle frequencies. When your mind buzzes with external noise, it drowns out the sacred whispers of inner knowing. Truth reveals itself not through endless questioning, but through the art of receptive stillness. Your intuition carries messages from the divine, but these messages speak in silence, like starlight touching earth. Douglas Hank discovered this principle through his own journey. As a merchant faced with countless decisions, he originally sought counsel from every available source. His mind raced with opinions and projections, until one day he noticed how the most prosperous traders would pause before speaking, as if listening to an inner voice. Following their example, Douglas began taking 3 conscious breaths before each choice. In these moments of pause, clarity would emerge like dawn breaking through fog. The practice transformed his business as decisions aligned naturally with opportunities' flow. He had discovered that wisdom arrives not through mental strain, but through allowing space for inner guidance. Your intuition connects directly to divine intelligence. When you quiet external voices, this connection strengthens. Each moment of stillness attunes you to higher frequencies of understanding. The answers you seek already exist within the sacred silence of your being. The ancient practice of sacred stillness. Find a quiet space each day where you won't be disturbed. Begin with 3 minutes of conscious breathing. As thoughts arise, neither fight nor follow them. Simply observe their passing like clouds in the sky. Gradually extend these periods of stillness, allowing divine wisdom to emerge naturally. Notice how solutions appear without effort when the mind grows quiet. Practice this daily until silence becomes your most trusted advisor, and stillness your natural state of receptivity. Let the emptiness fill with luminous knowing as you attune to the whispers of universal intelligence. Part 2. The Art of Partnering with the Divine Current. Chapter 11. The Living Word. In the depths of stillness lies your greatest power, not in endless motion, but in the sacred pause between thoughts. This truth echoes through the ages, carried in whispers from those who discovered the gateway within. Consider Rosie June, who once toiled in her small dress shop, fighting time and thread with growing frustration. Each morning brought new struggles until she learned an ancient practice from her grandmother. Before touching needle to fabric, she would pause and speak gentle words of blessing over her work. Divine grace flows through these hands. Each stitch aligns with perfect timing. What began as simple ritual transformed her entire craft. Customers remarked that her dresses seemed to hold a special quality, as though woven with light itself. Her fingers found rhythm without effort, and solutions appeared before problems fully formed. The power of blessed speech creates before action begins. Your words carry the same creative force that spoke worlds into being. Each syllable sends ripples through the fabric of existence, preparing the way for physical manifestation. When you speak in harmony with divine truth, reality reshapes itself to match your declaration. William Burke understood this principle when his trading business faced seemingly insurmountable challenges. Instead of lamenting obstacles, he began greeting each difficulty with words of appreciation. "Thank you for this opportunity to grow stronger. This challenge brings hidden gifts." His colleagues thought him strange until they witnessed how, one by one, problems dissolved into possibilities. Contracts that appeared lost returned with better terms. Delayed shipments arrived precisely when needed most. The universe responds, not to your circumstances, but to your proclamations about them. Speaking blessing into situations aligns your energy with divine solutions. Your voice becomes a bridge between spiritual truth and physical experience. Practice. The ancient art of blessed speech. Find a quiet moment each morning before your day begins. Sit in stillness and bring to mind the tasks or challenges ahead. Speak words of blessing over each one, not as wishful thinking, but as acknowledgement of divine order already present. Your words might be simple. Grace fills this moment. Wisdom guides this decision. Love smooths this path. Continue this practice throughout your day, especially when facing difficulty. Rather than speaking frustration, declare the presence of divine solution. Let your words become instruments of creation, tuned to the frequency of blessing. Notice how situations begin to align with your spoken truth, as though reality itself bends to match your faith-filled declarations. Chapter 12. The Frequency of Gratitude. In the quiet corners of a small coastal town, Geraldine Joe spent her days listing grievances in a worn leather journal. Each evening, she would document the day's disappointments, the late bus, the cold coffee, the unreturned calls. As her list grew longer, her life seemed to shrink, misfortunes multiplying like shadows at dusk. Then one morning, while watching waves lap against the shore, she witnessed how the ocean accepted each moment without resistance. In that gentle rhythm, wisdom stirred within her heart. She opened a new journal, and instead of recording complaints, she began noting moments of grace, morning light through curtains, the warmth of tea against her palms, a stranger's smile. As though the universe had awaited this shift, doors began opening without effort. A forgotten check arrived in the mail. An old friend offered partnership in a promising venture. Even the weather seemed to arrange itself around her plans with peculiar precision. The law flows through gratitude as naturally as water seeks its level. When you align your thoughts with appreciation, you tune your being to the frequency of abundance. Your thankfulness becomes a magnetic force, drawing forth more reasons for gratitude. Consider Andrew Tate, who transformed his relationship with money through this very principle. Each bill that arrived at his modest apartment became an opportunity for thanks. Gratitude for the electricity that lit his home, the water that blessed his days, the roof that sheltered his dreams. Within months, his financial situation transformed mysteriously. Additional work appeared. Investments yielded unexpected returns, and resources flowed as though guided by an unseen hand. This principle operates with mathematical precision. What you appreciate, appreciates. Gratitude is not merely a response to abundance, but its very foundation. When you speak thanks for what exists now, you create an energetic template for future blessings. The universe responds not to what you want, but to what you deeply feel. A heart filled with gratitude becomes a magnet for grace. This is not mere coincidence, but cosmic law, as reliable as gravity, as consistent as the dawn. Sacred practice. Each evening, as day surrenders to night, sit in peaceful solitude. Allow gratitude to rise naturally in your heart. Begin with the simplest gifts: breath, heartbeat, consciousness itself. Let appreciation flow through you like a gentle stream, touching every aspect of your experience. Continue until thankfulness becomes as natural as your pulse, a rhythm that guides tomorrow's blessings into being. This practice, performed faithfully, attunes your spirit to the frequency of divine abundance. Chapter 13. Letting Go of Control. In a small village among rolling hills, Hattie Mae gripped her desires with white-knuckled determination. Each morning she would rise before dawn, meticulously planning every detail of her hoped-for future. Her days became an endless sequence of lists, timelines, and rigid expectations. Yet the more forcefully she pushed toward her goals, the more they seemed to recede like mirages in the desert. The divine current moves with perfect precision, but it cannot flow through clenched fists. As Hattie Mae exhausted herself trying to orchestrate every outcome, life's natural magic remained just beyond her reach. It wasn't until illness forced her to rest that she discovered the power of letting go. In her weakness, she found strength in surrender, and only then did the universe begin conspiring in her favor. This truth reveals itself in all things. The flower does not strain to bloom, the river does not fight to reach the sea. When you release your grip on how blessings must arrive, you create space for the infinite to work in ways far beyond your imagination. Consider Peter Claude, the master architect who had designed countless buildings with exacting precision. For months, he labored over plans for his masterpiece, a sanctuary that would be his legacy. But despite his expertise, every attempt to begin construction met with mysterious delays and obstacles. It wasn't until Peter Claude surrendered his vision to divine guidance that the true design revealed itself. In meditation one morning, he saw a completely different structure, one that worked in harmony with the natural landscape rather than imposing upon it. By relaxing his hold on his original concept, he allowed something far more magnificent to emerge. The law of attraction operates most powerfully in the space of peaceful expectancy. When you trust the timing of the universe, you align with its natural rhythm. This is not passive waiting, but active allowing, a state of alert receptivity where you remain open to possibilities beyond your current understanding. Ancient practice. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. As thoughts of urgency arise about your desires, exhale them fully, releasing them into the care of the divine. With each inhale, breathe in trust. With each exhale, let go of the need to control. Speak these words with quiet certainty. Divine timing arranges all things perfectly. I release my timeline and trust in the higher plan. Maintain this practice until you feel peace replace anxiety, allowing the better option to emerge in its own perfect time. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Power of Visualization. In the sacred art of manifestation, surrender often proves the master key that unlocks divine flow. Hattie Mae's tale speaks to the heart of this truth. For years, she gripped her desires with white knuckles, believing control would birth her dreams faster. Yet the more she pushed, planned, and positioned, the more life seemed to resist her careful orchestration. Only when exhaustion finally loosened her grip did grace enter. In that space of letting go, solutions appeared that far exceeded her rigid blueprints. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, had been waiting to offer something grander than her limited imagination could conceive. This reveals the subtle paradox at the heart of manifestation. The tighter we clutch our visions, the more we constrict their natural evolution. True mastery lies not in forcing outcomes, but in maintaining relaxed expectancy. It is the difference between demanding a flower bloom and creating conditions that invite its natural unfoldment. When Peter Claude released his iron grip on how his business should grow, divine intelligence revealed pathways he could never have planned. His surrender wasn't passive resignation, but active trust, a knowing that universal wisdom would arrange circumstances far better than his limited perspective could engineer. The art of letting go requires profound trust in life's benevolent flow. It asks us to remain clear about our destination while releasing attachment to the exact route, like water finding its path to the sea. Manifestation follows natural channels when we stop insisting on our preferred course. Effie Ruth understood this dance between vision and surrender. Each day she drew her future home with loving detail, yet held those sketches lightly, allowing divine intelligence to improve upon her dreams. When reality manifested months later, the actual doors and windows seemed to smile back at her, carrying echoes of her original vision, while exceeding it in ways she couldn't have imagined. This delicate balance of clear intention and peaceful surrender appears again in Marvin Dale's healing journey. While holding vivid images of restored health, he released anxiety about the timeline and method. His joyful visualization, unburdened by desperate clutching, created space for recovery that left his physicians in wonder. Your own manifestations await this same gentle touch. The universe responds not to forced demands, but to the magnetic pull of relaxed certainty. As you envision your desires, let your grip soften. Hold your dreams as you would hold a butterfly, firmly enough to feel its presence, gently enough to allow its wings to spread. Practice. Find a quiet moment each day to imagine your desired outcomes in rich sensory detail. See the colors, hear the sounds, feel the textures of your vision until your body resonates with its reality. Yet maintain the lightness of A. Chapter 15, The Bridge of Faith. Every morning, Odette Pearl would stand at her window, gazing at the horizon where her dreams waited. Though her heart trembled, something deeper than fear moved her forward. Step by uncertain step, she ventured beyond familiar shores, discovering that each movement aligned with inner wisdom manifested solid ground beneath her feet. The universe honors those who dare to trust their sacred intuition. When you sense a quiet calling toward unexplored territory, know that this gentle pull originates from the same force that guides stars through their celestial paths. Your inner compass points true north, even when logic suggests otherwise. Within the realm of manifestation, courage serves as the bridge between vision and reality. It transforms ethereal dreams into tangible experience, not through force, but through faith in action. Each step taken in harmony with your inner knowing creates a path that was invisible moments before. Clyde Rowland understood this truth when he felt drawn to visit a cafe he'd never entered before. Though his mind questioned the impulse, his spirit recognized the whisper of divine orchestration. That morning, he met 3 individuals who would later become instrumental in his life's work. The universe had arranged a symphony of synchronicity, requiring only his willingness to follow its subtle direction. Your intuition speaks in whispers, because truth needs no volume to command attention. When you sense an inner nudge toward certain action, recognize it as the divine current moving through you. This guidance system operates with perfect precision, connecting you to opportunities that your logical mind could never calculate. The key lies not in grand gestures, but in small acts of trust. Each time you honor your inner knowing, you strengthen the bridge between spiritual insight and physical manifestation. The universe delights in confirming your faith through tangible evidence, but first requires your step into seeming emptiness. Sacred practice. Choose one intuitive prompt each day, perhaps a subtle urge to take a different route home, to reach out to someone specific, or to explore an unexpected possibility. Act upon this gentle guidance without demanding to know the outcome. Simply move in alignment with your inner wisdom and observe as the universe arranges itself to meet your courage. In this way, you transform abstract trust into living proof of divine collaboration. Chapter 16. The Gentle Art of Allowing. Once there lived a woman named Susanna Lee who spent her days chasing joy as though it were a butterfly just beyond reach. Each morning she would wake with a determined mission to create happiness, scheduling activities meant to spark delight and mentally commanding herself to feel good. Yet the harder she pursued joy, the more it seemed to flutter away, leaving her exhausted and wondering why happiness felt so elusive. Through the whispers of divine wisdom, Susanna discovered a truth that would transform her understanding. Joy cannot be forced into being, but rather emerges naturally when we release our grip on how life should unfold. As she learned to accept each moment as complete, something miraculous began to occur. Delight started appearing in unexpected places, multiplying like wildflowers in an untended field. The universe operates through allowance, not force. When you cease striving to manufacture specific emotions or outcomes, you create space for natural abundance to flow. This truth echoes through the ages. The divine current moves most freely through hearts that rest in acceptance rather than resistance. Consider the tale of Amos Verne, who once believed that winning every discussion meant controlling its direction. In meetings and conversations, he would carefully craft his arguments, mentally preparing rebuttals before others had finished speaking. Yet this approach created tension rather than connection, resistance rather than flow. One day, Amos decided to experiment with allowing conversations to unfold naturally. He released his need to direct every exchange and instead listened with genuine openness. To his amazement, when he stopped trying to force agreement, people naturally aligned with his perspectives. By surrendering control, he discovered that harmony often arrives through channels we never planned. These stories illuminate a fundamental principle. Faith expresses itself most purely through the art of allowing. When you trust the divine timing of your good, you need not force its arrival. Like a river that knows its path to the sea, your blessings know their way to you. The sacred practice of allowing invites you to release the strain of making things happen. Instead of pushing against life's current, you learn to float upon it, carried by the wisdom that orchestrates galaxies. This is not passive waiting, but active trust, a profound knowing that what is meant for you cannot miss you. Actionable practice. Each day, set aside moments to practice peaceful expectation. Breathe deeply and affirm, "I allow life to unfold in divine timing." When you notice yourself forcing outcomes or emotions, gently release that tension. Let each moment be enough, exactly as it is. Continue this practice until allowing becomes your natural stance, a quiet confidence in the perfect unfolding of your good. Chapter 17. Sacred Imagination. In a small village by the sea, Vera Nell spent her days questioning whether her dreams were too grand. Each time a vision of abundance filled her mind, she pushed it away, believing such imaginings might offend the heavens. She lived small, speaking small, dreaming small, until the day she witnessed a child building castles in the sand. The child spoke to invisible companions, crafted entire kingdoms with his fingers, and smiled as though creation itself blessed his play. In that moment, Vera Nell understood. Imagination flows from the same source that dreamed worlds into being. Our capacity to envision springs from the divine well that first imagined light into existence. When you allow your mind to soar, you partner with the infinite. The universe delights in your creative force, for it mirrors the original act of creation. Your imagination is not separate from divine will. It is divine will expressing through you. Every dream that lifts your spirit, carries heaven's signature. Alfred Roy understood this truth when he faced the bitter divide between his neighbors. Rather than dwelling on their conflict, he began imagining them sharing meals together, their children playing in shared gardens. He held this vision not as wishful thinking but as sacred collaboration with universal intelligence. Within days, small gestures of kindness appeared between the feuding households. By week's end, the sound of laughter replaced tense silence. The power to imagine is your inheritance. It flows through you as naturally as breath, waiting to paint possibility upon the canvas of reality. When you trust this gift, you honor the Creator that bestowed it. Your mind becomes an altar where divine potential takes form. Take your place as co-creator. Let your thoughts dance with infinite intelligence. When doubt whispers that your dreams exceed your station, remember, the force that crafted galaxies flows through your creative vision. Your imagination is not fantasy. It is the divine mind thinking through you. Sacred practice. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Allow your mind to craft a vision of harmony, abundance, or joy. Feel the presence of divine intelligence participating in your creative act. Hold this vision as though it were a prayer, knowing that your imagination is sacred partnership with universal mind. Practice this daily, treating each creative thought as collaboration with the infinite. Let gratitude fill these inner worlds until they overflow into outer experience. Chapter 18. Harmony with Resistance. In the quiet village among ancient hills, Ethel Dawn ran a small shop where she crafted intricate tapestries. Each morning, she would rise before dawn, determined to complete her work, only to face endless interruptions and setbacks. Customers would arrive at the most inopportune moments, threads would tangle mysteriously, and designs would refuse to flow as she envisioned. Her frustration grew until it seemed to weave itself into every piece she created. One morning, as sunlight filtered through her workshop window, Ethel noticed how the light transformed even the dust motes into dancing gold. In that moment, she understood. Resistance itself carried hidden beauty. Instead of pushing against interruptions, she began greeting them as old friends bearing gifts. When her threads tangled, she whispered, "Thank you for teaching me patience." When customers arrived unexpectedly, she smiled and said, "Welcome, teachers of flexibility." Within weeks, her work transformed. The very obstacles that once hindered her now seemed to guide her hands toward more beautiful patterns than she had ever imagined. Her resistance had been like a tightly wound thread. Once loosened, it revealed its own perfect purpose. In the bustling market square of another town, Harold Jean tended his fruit stand. His deliveries often arrived late, causing him to lose early morning sales. At first, he raged against these delays, seeing them as attacks on his livelihood. But one day, he noticed something peculiar. Whenever his produce arrived late, it seemed to arrive exactly when his best customers appeared. Instead of fighting against time's apparent disruptions, Harold began to trust their rhythm. He learned to say, "This delay carries perfect timing." Soon his business flourished in unexpected ways. The very delays he had cursed became the cornerstone of his success, bringing him precisely the right customers at exactly the right moments. These tales whisper an ancient truth. What appears as obstacle often serves as gateway. The resistance you feel when pursuing your dreams is not your enemy. It is your teacher. offering precise calibration for your spirit's growth. Each barrier presents not a wall, but a doorway into greater understanding. The universe never blocks, it builds. Every seeming setback carries within it the seeds of greater alignment. When you welcome resistance as refinement, you transform friction into flow. Your obstacles become stepping stones, each one perfectly placed to guide you toward your highest good. Sacred practice. Stand before any challenge in your life and speak these words. I name you my teacher, my refinement. Through you I grow stronger, wiser, more aligned with divine timing. Thank you for your perfect guidance. Repeat this blessing each time resistance appears, allowing gratitude to dissolve the illusion of opposition. Watch as what once seemed to block your path reveals itself as the path itself. Chapter 19. Inspired Action. In the shadows of hesitation, Ruby Lou discovered a truth as ancient as time itself. Each morning she would sit in contemplation, asking the universe to guide her path. Yet as weeks turned to months, her prayers seemed to echo in an empty chamber. Until one day, a peculiar thought whispered through her mind, to leave flowers at her neighbor's doorstep. The thought seemed too simple, too insignificant to matter. But on this day, something shifted within her, and she chose to listen. That single act of following her subtle intuition created ripples beyond imagination. The neighbor, touched by the anonymous gift, began a chain of kindness throughout their street. Through this expanding circle of goodwill, Ruby Lou found herself introduced to opportunities that had been invisible before. A chance conversation led to a partnership, which blossomed into a thriving community garden that fed both bodies and souls. The universe speaks in whispers, not shouts. Your inspiration arrives as gentle nudges, quiet suggestions that may seem too modest to matter. Yet these subtle promptings are the divine arithmetic at work, calculating paths of least resistance to your highest good. Consider Melvin Troy, who sat amidst a stack of business ideas, paralyzed by the magnitude of choice. His breakthrough came when he decided to act on just one small inspiration each day. Monday, he made one phone call. Tuesday, he wrote one letter. Wednesday, he visited one shop. Each action, though seemingly minor, built upon the last. Within months, these accumulated actions had woven themselves into a tapestry of success that no amount of planning could have designed. The sacred mathematics of manifestation require motion. Even the smallest step, taken with sincerity, sets cosmic forces into motion. Your task is not to orchestrate the entire symphony, but to play your single note with perfect timing. The practice. When inspiration touches you with its gentle finger, move without delay. Let your response be immediate and unburdened by analysis. Each morning, identify one subtle prompting, a kind word unspoken, a letter unwritten, a call unmade, and act upon it before the sun sets. Watch as the universe arranges itself around your willingness to move in harmony with its whispers. Your trust in these small beginnings becomes the foundation for greater mysteries to unfold. Chapter 20. Trusting the Unseen. In a small village among ancient hills, Inez Pearl sat each morning at her window, waiting for signs before taking action. She would whisper, "When I see it, I will believe it," not knowing this very thought created an invisible wall between her desires and their manifestation. The universe operates in reverse of human logic. Creation begins in the unseen realm of belief before materializing in the physical world. Your thoughts are the architects of reality, drawing blueprints in the ethereal before matter arranges itself accordingly. As days passed, Inez noticed her neighbor's garden flourishing while hers remained bare. She had waited for the perfect conditions, the right season, the ideal alignment of circumstances. Yet her neighbor simply planted seeds in faith, trusting in the invisible process of growth beneath the soil. This truth echoes across time. Belief precedes evidence. The law of attraction responds not to what your eyes witness, but to what your heart knows with unwavering certainty. When you demand proof before faith, you position yourself as an observer rather than a creator. Consider Orville Kent, who inherited a struggling family business. Instead of fixating on dwindling numbers, he began each day expressing gratitude for the prosperity flowing toward him. He spoke of success as though it already existed, walked through his empty shop, greeting invisible customers, and arranged his space for the abundance he knew would arrive. Within months, his business transformed. New opportunities appeared as naturally as dawn follows night. Yet these changes didn't initiate his belief, they confirmed it. His faith had carved channels through which abundance could flow. The universe mirrors your deepest convictions, not your surface wishes. When you trust the unseen currents of manifestation, physical reality must align with your inner knowing. This is not blind optimism, but spiritual physics, the law that governs all creation. Sacred practice. Each morning, stand in your space and acknowledge the invisible growth occurring in your life. Touch empty chairs as though they hold opportunities. Speak to bare rooms as though they buzz with activity. And thank the universe for blessings still in spiritual form. Let your gratitude embrace what eyes cannot yet see, knowing that patience itself is a form of faith in motion. Continue this practice until the gap between belief and manifestation fills with joyful expectation rather than doubt. Part 3. The Radiant Silence of Mastery. Chapter 21. Living as the Answered Prayer. In the quiet dawn of understanding, Myra Fay knelt faithfully by her bedside, her whispered prayers rising like incense to heaven. Day after day, she pleaded for change until exhaustion settled in her bones. Yet transformation remained elusive, hovering just beyond reach. One morning, as sunlight painted her room in gold, wisdom descended like a gentle rain. Her prayers were not meant to convince the divine, but to prepare her own heart for receiving. The revelation spread through her being. She had been approaching the sacred exchange backward, seeking permission for what was already granted. From that moment, Myra Fay rose from her knees and began to walk differently through her days. She spoke as though abundance flowed through her veins. She moved with the quiet dignity of one who knew their place in the divine order. Her prayers transformed from desperate requests into grateful acknowledgments. Within weeks, opportunities began appearing like spring blossoms after winter's thaw, not because she had finally convinced the universe, but because she had aligned herself with what was already waiting. In the bustling streets of a small trading town, Calvin Boyd understood this truth without ever speaking it aloud. Though his pockets held mere copper coins, he carried himself with the grace of one who knew gold would soon follow. He greeted each person as though they were destined to become allies in his success. He arranged his simple desk each morning, as if important contracts would surely arrive that day. The universe, ever faithful to internal harmony, began matching his certainty with circumstance. Merchants sought his counsel, partnerships formed naturally, and prosperity followed his footsteps like a loyal companion. His secret lay not in asking, but in embodying. He became the very thing he sought. These tales whisper an ageless truth. Manifestation flows not from endless requesting, but from quiet certainty. The divine current moves through those who stand ready, who dare to live as though already blessed. Ancient practice. As the sun rises each morning, move through your day with gentle authority. Let your gestures reflect one who knows their wishes already exist in the unseen realm. Speak, walk, and breathe as though your desires have already taken form. Watch as the visible world gradually aligns with your inner knowing, for this is the way of sacred manifestation. Chapter 22. Healing through Presence. In the ancient village between misty mountains, Nora Lee filled her shelves with scrolls of healing wisdom. She memorized mantras, practiced sacred movements, and recited incantations meant to ease suffering. Yet peace eluded her until the day she set aside her books and simply sat in the garden, watching sunlight dance through leaves. In that moment of surrender, she discovered that awareness itself carried healing power. Her searching ceased, and what she had pursued through endless study arrived effortlessly through presence. The tension that had gripped her shoulders for years dissolved like morning dew, not through technique, but through simple being. This unveils an eternal truth. Your natural state is already whole. The divine current flows most freely when you step out of its way. Healing emerges not from doing, but from allowing yourself to be fully present in each moment. Leonard Claude embodied this wisdom without naming it. When his friend arrived one evening, shoulders heavy with unspoken burdens, Leonard offered no advice or solutions. He simply created space, a gentle silence where his friend could unfold their story without judgment or interruption. As Leonard listened with his whole being, something shifted in the room. Peace descended like a soft blanket, wrapping both men in its embrace. No words of wisdom were exchanged, yet healing flowed between them as naturally as breath. The universe speaks in silence. When you release the need to fix, solve, or change what is, you become a clear vessel through which divine grace can flow. Your presence, unburdened by agenda or expectation, becomes a sanctuary where others can remember their own wholeness. The practice of sacred presence. Find a quiet moment each day to simply be. Let go of all techniques and methods. When you encounter someone in pain, whether emotional or physical, resist the urge to offer solutions. Instead, breathe deeply and allow your presence to become still and spacious. Feel the divine moving through your quiet compassion. Trust that awareness itself is healing, and your simple presence is enough. Chapter 23. The Blessing of Uncertainty. In the depths of a tranquil valley, Gladys June lived by rigid schedules, marking each hour with precise intentions. Her garden rows stood mathematically straight, her daily routines unfolded like clockwork, and her heart raced at the slightest deviation from her carefully crafted plans. Yet life, in its infinite wisdom, kept sending her unexpected gifts wrapped in the packaging of disruption. One morning, as storm clouds gathered instead of the predicted sunshine, Gladys June felt the familiar grip of anxiety. But something within her shifted, a subtle remembrance of ancient truth. Rather than fighting against the approaching storm, she whispered, "Welcome, sacred surprise." The rain that followed brought not chaos, but wildflowers that had slumbered beneath her perfect rose, awakening colors she'd never planned for but somehow had always longed to see. Through this simple surrender, she discovered that the unknown carries seeds of grace. Each time she released her grip on certainty, life responded with abundance that surpassed her careful calculations. Her garden grew more vibrant in its beautiful chaos, and her days filled with a lightness that planning could never provide. Perry Duke's story echoes this wisdom. As a merchant who once plotted every trading route with precision, he found himself lost in unfamiliar territory during a journey. Instead of forcing his way back to known paths, he embraced the mystery of his location. This openness led him to a hidden marketplace where rare treasures awaited, opportunities that no map could have revealed. The universe speaks through the language of surprise. When you resist the unexpected, you resist the very force that seeks to bless you in ways your limited planning could never conceive. Each detour holds a gift. Each delay carries divine timing, and each surprise contains a seed of transformation. Your relationship with uncertainty is your relationship with the infinite. The unknown is not your enemy, but your ally carrying treasures beyond imagination. When you welcome the unexpected as surprise proof of life, you align with the natural flow of abundance. Ancient practice. Begin each morning by saying, "I welcome the sacred surprises this day brings." When plans shift, breathe deeply and affirm, "This change guides me toward greater good." Let uncertainty become your teacher, showing you possibilities beyond the limitations of your own design. Welcome each unexpected turn as an adventure orchestrated by divine benevolence. In this practice lies the secret of turning what seems like chaos into a dance of grace. Chapter 24. Transmuting Fear to Faith. Lois. May lived in perpetual anticipation of disaster. Each morning she would scan the horizon for storm clouds of setbacks, her heart fluttering at shadows of what might go wrong. When opportunities arose, she saw only risk. When blessings approached, she questioned their permanence. Her life became a series of hesitations, each one strengthening the walls she built against uncertainty. Until one morning, in the quiet of her garden, she witnessed something remarkable. A tiny seed she had planted weeks ago had finally broken through the soil. But instead of growing straight up as expected, it had encountered a stone and curved around it, finding its way to light through an unexpected path. In that moment, understanding dawned. What she had labeled as fear was simply faith seeking its proper channel. This truth rings through the ages. Fear is not the opposite of faith, but rather its unpolished form. Like a diamond in rough stone, it awaits transformation through the gentle pressure of trust. Your fears speak not of weakness, but of power, yet unnamed. They whisper of possibilities so vast that your current understanding trembles before them. When Herbert Dean faced the boardroom, his presentations once faltered under the weight of anxiety. Each meeting loomed like a mountain impossible to scale. Yet he discovered an ancient practice that turned the tide of his experience. Before each presentation, he would pause and whisper to his fear, as one might speak to a confused child, "I thank you for showing me how much this matters. Now let us transform this energy into service." The results transcended mere confidence. His presentations became channels of inspiration, touching hearts beyond mere information. His fear had not vanished. It had been transformed into focused power. This reveals the sacred alchemy available to all. Fear converted through love becomes courage. When you stand before uncertainty, remember, it is not an obstacle, but an altar. Each moment of hesitation offers an opportunity for transformation. Sacred practice. When fear arises, place your hand upon your heart. Breathe deeply and speak these words. Divine Presence, I bless this fear as disguised faith. Transform it through your perfect love. Continue this blessing until you feel the energy shift from resistance to acceptance. Let each anxious thought become a prayer for deeper trust. Each moment of uncertainty, an invitation to divine partnership. Practice this until courage flows not as an achievement, but as your natural state of being. Chapter 25. The Law of Circulation. In the quiet heart of a small village, Wanda Sue guarded her treasures with fierce devotion. Each coin, each gift, each morsel of good fortune she received was quickly secured behind lock and key. Yet the more tightly she held these blessings, the more they seemed to lose their luster, becoming heavy burdens rather than sources of joy. Through the changing seasons, she noticed how the trees released their leaves without hesitation, how rivers flowed endlessly without attempting to store their waters. Nature whispered an ancient truth. Abundance thrives in movement, not in stillness. Life itself operates on the principle of circulation. Just as breath must flow both in and out to sustain life, prosperity must move to maintain its vitality. When you clutch too tightly to what you have, you create resistance in the natural flow of universal abundance. This resistance manifests as stagnation, worry, and the very scarcity you seek to avoid. Russell Jean, a merchant in the nearby town, discovered this wisdom through his own journey. For years he tracked every penny with anxious precision, treating money as a prisoner to be guarded. His ledgers were immaculate, yet his business barely sustained itself. One morning, as he watched children freely sharing their simple toys in the town square, something shifted in his understanding. He began treating money as a welcome guest rather than a captive. He paid his suppliers with genuine gratitude, shared generously with those in need, and released his grip on what he thought he must control. To his amazement, his shop began to flourish. Customers returned more frequently, opportunities arose unexpectedly, and resources flowed more abundantly than ever before. The universe responds to the energy with which you handle its gifts. When you trust enough to participate in the natural cycle of giving and receiving, you align with the very force that sustains all life. Fear of loss creates the very loss you fear, while trust in abundance invites prosperity's natural flow. Sacred practice. Each morning, give something away, whether material or intangible. It might be a smile, a kind word, a small gift, or a moment of your time. As you give, feel the joy of participation in life's circular dance. Release the need to track returns, trusting that as you allow generosity to flow through you, the universe's abundant response will find its natural way back to you. Chapter 26. Compassion as Currency. Through the ages, a sacred truth has whispered itself into existence. What flows through you returns multiplied. This eternal principle reveals itself not through complex formulas, but through the simple art of circulation. Ivy May discovered this truth during her darkest hour. Each morning, she would walk the same path to her small flower shop, her mind heavy with mounting bills and dwindling customers. Yet something within her refused to dim. When elderly Mrs. Thompson entered her shop one day, clearly distressed about her son's illness, Ivy May set aside her own troubles. She listened with full presence, offered a gentle embrace, and gifted her finest roses without charge. That evening, an unexpected order arrived for 3 wedding celebrations. The universe operates through divine mathematics. Every act of kindness creates ripples in the cosmic ledger. These ripples return not as mere echoes, but as waves of abundance. This truth lies embedded in nature itself. Observe how a tree releases its leaves without hesitation, trusting in spring's return. When Floyd Earle received a letter from Thomas, who owed him a considerable sum from years past, his first impulse was to demand repayment. Instead, he wrote back with understanding, releasing Thomas from the obligation entirely. Within a month, Floyd's small carpentry business received 3 major contracts that transformed his finances completely. This principle teaches that wealth flows not through accumulation but through circulation. Every act of giving creates space for receiving. Yet the giving must emerge from genuine compassion, not calculated exchange. True circulation begins in the heart before it manifests in the material realm. The secret lies in understanding that all resources, whether love, money, or kindness, are meant to flow like a river rather than stagnate like a pond. When you grasp this truth, you realize that giving is not loss but investment in the universal flow. Sacred practice. Find one situation each day where criticism or judgment naturally arises. In that moment, pause and consciously choose understanding instead. Offer a kind word where a harsh one might have lived. Release someone from an expectation you've held. With each breath, let compassion flow outward, knowing it creates channels for abundance to return. Continue this practice until generosity becomes as natural as breathing. Not a conscious choice, but your very nature expressing itself through divine law. Chapter 27. The Beauty of Patience. In the quiet spaces between moments, truth reveals itself most clearly. Bonnie Ray's story echoes through time. A soul who measured progress by the ticking of clocks, missing the sacred dance unfolding in stillness. Her days became a chase for outcomes until exhaustion taught her wisdom's gentler way. Time itself holds divine intelligence that our mortal minds cannot grasp. When you count hours, you fragment infinity into pieces too small to contain miracles. Yet when you rest in the spaciousness between moments, creation works unhindered by human urgency. The universe operates in cycles of ripening that cannot be rushed. Just as fruit forced from the vine loses sweetness, manifestations hurried by anxiety lack the full richness of divine timing. Your role is not to push the river, but to flow with its sacred current. Consider Clifford Lee's vineyard, a testament to nature's own rhythm. While others frantically tended their vines with anxious eyes fixed on future profits, Clifford moved in harmony with the seasons. He understood that grapes sweeten according to laws beyond mortal control. His peace became the soil from which abundance grew naturally, doubling his harvest without strain. The teaching crystallizes here. Patience is not passive waiting but active faith. It is the sweet fragrance of trust that rises when you stop resisting what is. When you learn to find joy in the pause between planting and harvesting, you enter the slipstream of grace where miracles flourish. Your desires are already granted in the invisible realm. The gap between prayer and manifestation is not empty space, but sacred gestation. Each moment of waiting carries purpose. The divine artist is still adding final touches to your miracle, making it more perfect than your limited vision could conceive. The practice. Sit quietly each morning and evening, breathing slowly. Feel the space between your breaths as holy ground where creation works silently. When anticipation rises, smile at it gently and affirm, "Divine timing is completing my blessing perfectly." Let each pause become a prayer of trust until waiting itself feels like worship. This ancient practice aligns you with the natural rhythm of manifestation, where patience becomes power and peace accelerates prosperity. Chapter 28. Eternal Connection. In the simplest moments, divinity whispers closest. Alma Jean's journey mirrors what you may have felt, that persistent fear of being separate from the source of all being. She spent years searching temples and texts for confirmation of God's presence, until one ordinary morning, while tending her garden, a profound realization dawned. Every breath she drew was borrowed from the infinite. This is the great unveiling that awaits you, the understanding that separation from divine presence is impossible. You cannot be divided from what gives you life with each inhale. The air filling your lungs is not yours alone, but part of the vast cosmic breath that sustains all creation. In this sharing of breath, you touch the truth of unity. When you feel distant from divine grace, pause and notice the miracle of breathing. This simple act connects you to the same force that spins galaxies and opens spring blossoms. Your every breath is evidence of constant communion with the infinite. Stanley Joe discovered this sacred secret while standing at his kitchen sink, where once he saw only dishes to be cleaned. He began to recognize the holy in the humble. As his hands moved through warm water, gratitude arose for this simple act of service. Suddenly, the ordinary transformed. Soap bubbles caught light like tiny stars. Running water sang ancient hymns, and what was mundane became masterpiece. His story teaches that holiness hides in plain sight, waiting to be recognized in your daily rounds. The divine doesn't require grand gestures or perfect circumstances to make itself known. It lives in the fold of clean towels, the preparation of meals, the quiet moments between tasks. When you bring grateful awareness to these simple acts, they become prayers in motion. You need not climb mountains or enter monasteries to find connection with the sacred. The divine threads through every moment, waiting to be acknowledged. Each routine task offers an invitation to communion. When you accept this invitation, loneliness dissolves into the recognition of constant companionship. The practice. Throughout your day, pause to acknowledge the presence within ordinary moments. As you wash dishes, fold laundry, or complete simple tasks, whisper, "Thank you," to the divine life flowing through your hands. Let each action become a prayer, each movement a gesture of gratitude. Watch how this simple practice transforms routine into ritual, until your entire day becomes an ongoing conversation with the sacred. In this way, life itself becomes your temple, and every breath confirms your unbreakable connection to the source of all being. Chapter 29. the humility of master creators. In the depths of a mountain monastery, there lived a humble woman who swept floors each morning while reciting ancient prayers of thanks. She appeared ordinary to passing eyes, yet those who lingered noticed how peace followed in her wake like perfume. Through decades of service, she discovered that true power lies not in proclamation, but in the quiet acceptance of divine partnership. The universe operates through sacred mathematics. Every blessing multiplied becomes sweeter when divided by gratitude and offered back to its source. This truth echoes through countless lives of those who have walked the path of spiritual mastery. The moment you cease claiming sole authorship of your achievements, a profound shift occurs. Your capacities expand not through force but through surrender. Just as a crystal remains clear by allowing light to pass through rather than attempting to possess it, your connection to the infinite stays pure through constant acknowledgement of its presence. This is not diminishment of self, but recognition of your true nature as a vessel of divine expression. Consider how a river gains its power not by hoarding water, but by letting it flow freely. Similarly, your greatest influence emerges when you release the need to own it. Every victory, every moment of insight, every successful manifestation becomes more potent when received as a gift to be shared rather than an achievement to be claimed. When you find yourself tempted to grasp at power or parade success, remember that true mastery whispers rather than shouts. The most profound teachings often come wrapped in simplicity, like morning dew that silently nourishes without demanding attention. Let each breath become a prayer of partnership with the divine. Your role is not to force the universe into submission, but to align so completely with its flow that distinction between giver and receiver dissolves. In this sacred dance of co-creation, humility becomes your strength and gratitude your shield. Daily practice. In the gentle light of dawn or the quiet hours of evening, sit in stillness with your accomplishments. Take each success, each breakthrough, each moment of joy, and mentally offer it back to the divine source from which it came. Whisper your gratitude not as one who achieves alone, but as one who partners with infinite wisdom. Let this practice cleanse your spirit of pride's residue while strengthening your connection to eternal power. As you continue this offering, notice how your ability to manifest grows, even as your need to claim credit diminishes. Chapter 30. The Secret Kept by Silence. In the still hours before dawn, Opal Jane paced her garden, bursting to share news of her upcoming fortune. The whispers of success tickled her tongue, begging to be voiced. Yet something deeper held her silent. An ancient knowing that creation requires sacred space to take root. Through months of patient practice, she had learned that speaking of blessings too soon often caused them to scatter like seeds in harsh wind. The universe works in quiet ways, weaving its tapestry with threads of silence. When others asked about her ventures, she simply smiled, allowing mystery to be her shield. This truth echoes across time. Manifestation prefers the shelter of silence. Your power grows strongest when held in sacred trust between you and the divine. Like a seed beneath soil, transformation requires darkness before light. Every master creator knows this law. The more profound the blessing, the more it asks for quiet reverence. Gerald Boyd embodied this wisdom when rebuilding his life after loss. While others questioned his calm demeanor amid change, he kept his renewed sense of purpose private. He tended his inner garden without announcement, allowing actions to speak of his restoration. Within months, his quiet certainty bore fruit. Prosperity flowed naturally, relationships deepened, and opportunities arose without strain. His peace remained undisturbed precisely because he hadn't disturbed it with premature proclamation. The highest form of spiritual maturity is this: to know your power so deeply that you no longer need to speak of it. Let your presence be the message. Your transformed energy will communicate more than words ever could. The universe responds not to what you say about your blessings, but to how silently you honor them. This sacred law of creation whispers, manifest first, speak later. Allow your miracles the dignity of private growth. Trust that what is truly yours will remain, requiring no validation beyond its own existence. Ancient practice. Sit in silence for a few moments each morning. Visualize your desires taking root in fertile soil, protected by your quiet confidence. When tempted to speak of unfolding blessings, place your hand over your heart instead. Let this gesture remind you that some gifts grow best in the sacred space of silence. Demonstrate through being rather than announcing. Watch how your unspoken certainty becomes its own powerful prayer. Part 4. The Infinite Continuation of Creative Power. Chapter 31. The Echo of Belief. In the quiet hours before dawn, Sally Lou sat at her weathered kitchen table, marking patterns in her journal. Day after day, she noticed the same situations arising. Never quite enough money, relationships that felt incomplete, opportunities that slipped away. Then one morning, as sunlight painted golden patterns across her chapters, she understood. These weren't coincidences, but echoes of her deepest beliefs. With trembling fingers, she wrote a new truth. I am worthy of life's abundance. The simple act of writing these words sent ripples through the fabric of her reality. Within days, a forgotten investment matured, a strained friendship healed, and a long-awaited promotion materialized. The universe had not changed. Her inner knowing had shifted, and reality adjusted accordingly. Every belief you hold reverberates through the chambers of creation, shaping circumstances with the precision of a master architect. Your convictions are not mere thoughts, but living blueprints that the universe faithfully renders into experience. The world you see mirrors what you believe with unwavering loyalty. Emmett Roy discovered this truth on a rain-soaked Tuesday. After years of viewing the world as hostile, he made a singular decision to see kindness instead. That very afternoon, a stranger helped him change a flat tire. The next day, his neighbor offered fresh vegetables from her garden. By week's end, his life overflowed with unexpected generosity. His transformation teaches us that belief is not wishful thinking, but a force that shapes reality's raw material. When you alter a belief, you modify the invisible template from which your experiences are cast. The world must reshape itself to match your inner conviction. This is spiritual law. Your beliefs are prophecies waiting to be fulfilled, predictions that life hurries to validate. They whisper constantly to the universe, and the universe responds with matching circumstances. Change the whisper, and you change the response. Sacred practice. In the sanctuary of early morning, before the world stirs, sit in peaceful contemplation. Choose one limiting belief that has shadowed your path. Hold it gently in your awareness, then consciously transform it into an affirmation of possibility. Let this new truth settle into your being like morning dew absorbing into fertile soil. Practice this daily, watching as reality aligns itself with your renewed vision. Chapter 32. The Alchemy of Choice. Lucy Ann felt trapped by circumstance, seeing her life as a series of walls closing in. Each morning she would wake to the same thoughts circling like birds unable to land. Too many obligations, too few choices, too little time. Yet in this maze of limitation, a simple truth emerged that would transform her understanding forever. One autumn morning, while caught between two equally challenging decisions, she realized that her refusal to choose was itself a choice, one that kept her suspended in the very paralysis she blamed on external forces. This revelation struck her like soft lightning, illuminating the power she had held all along. The universe operates through sacred selection, each moment offering infinite paths forward. When you recognize that even inaction shapes your reality, the weight of choice becomes its wings. Your deliberate selections are the chisel that carves possibility into form, each decision a prayer spoken in the language of action. Reuben Glenn discovered this truth within the walls of his own home, where tension had become as familiar as furniture. Arguments erupted with predictable frequency, each family member caught in reactive patterns that seemed beyond control. Then he made one pivotal choice that would alter everything. Instead of meeting conflict with instant response, Reuben began pausing, creating a sacred space between trigger and reaction. Before speaking, he would silently bless the moment as an opportunity for transformation. This simple act of conscious choice began weaving a new pattern in his household. Within weeks, the very atmosphere of his home shifted. Where sharp words once flew, understanding began to bloom. His children, witnessing this change, naturally adopted their father's thoughtful approach. The practice of peaceful response rippled outward, touching every interaction with grace. Your power lies not in controlling circumstances, but in choosing your response to them. Each decision point is an altar where the divine and human meet in co-creative dance. When you approach choice with reverence, understanding its sacred nature, you partner with universal intelligence in shaping reality. Practice for sacred choice. Before each significant decision today, pause and take 3 conscious breaths. Feel the moment expand around you, creating space for divine wisdom to enter. Silently affirm, this choice is sacred. Through it flows the power of creation. Let your selection arise from this place of blessed clarity. Watch as your deliberate calm transforms not only outcomes, but the very field of possibilities surrounding you. Remember, every choice is a prayer in motion, every decision a brush stroke on the canvas of creation. Choose with the reverence of one who knows they partner with divine intelligence in each moment's unfolding. Chapter 33. Listening to Divine Nudges. In the quietest corners of thought, Doris May would often feel gentle stirrings, subtle suggestions that seemed to arise from nowhere. For years she dismissed these whispers as mere imagination, products of an overactive mind seeking meaning in randomness. Until that stormy evening when an inexplicable urge compelled her to take a different route home. Later, she would learn that her usual path had become treacherous, blocked by a fallen tree that could have brought harm. This moment awakened her to a profound truth. The divine speaks not in thunderous proclamation, but in the softest murmurs of intuition. The universe orchestrates its guidance through these delicate impressions, a sudden thought to call an old friend, an inexplicable pull toward a different direction, or a persistent feeling about a decision. These are not random mental wanderings, but sacred conversations between your eternal spirit and the infinite source. When you attune yourself to these subtle communications, life begins to flow with remarkable grace. Every seeming coincidence reveals itself as divine choreography, every random thought a thread in the tapestry of higher wisdom. Consider how Jed Allen sat one morning with an unexpected thought of an estranged friend. Rather than dismissing this gentle nudge, he honored it. Following this whispered guidance, he penned a simple note of apology, not knowing his friend had been thinking of him too. Their reconciliation flowed naturally, healing wounds that logic alone could never have bridged. This teaching illuminates a fundamental truth. Intuition is your divine inheritance, the natural channel through which universal wisdom flows into your daily experience. It requires no special ritual or dramatic revelation, only your willing attention to the quiet, knowing that rises from within. Your inner guidance system operates with perfect precision, yet its signals are often subtle enough to be overlooked in the clamor of daily life. Like a radio receiving cosmic broadcasts, you must first still the noise of doubt and mental chatter to hear these sacred transmissions clearly. The practice is simple yet profound. Throughout your day, pause to acknowledge the gentle nudges that arise. Treat each intuitive whisper as a love note from the universe, worthy of your attention and gratitude. As you honor these subtle promptings, you'll find they become clearer, more frequent, and more reliable. Each morning, set aside moments of quiet to tune into this inner frequency. When you feel those soft impressions, to reach out to someone, to take a different approach, to wait before acting, receive them with appreciation. This is Chapter 34, The Temple of the Ordinary. A gentle breeze carried wisdom across centuries to reveal this truth. The sacred whispers most clearly through simplicity. Maggie Pearl traversed mountains and valleys, seeking extraordinary signs of divine presence. She consulted mystics in remote caves and studied ancient scrolls in forgotten temples, convinced that spiritual power must reside in grand gestures and dramatic revelations. Yet transformation arrived in her kitchen one ordinary morning. As sunlight filtered through her window, she noticed how it transformed a simple glass of water into liquid gold. In that moment, she understood that divinity had always been present in her everyday rituals, waiting to be recognized. The universe speaks most intimately through common moments. When you prepare a meal with loving attention, you participate in the same creative force that sustains galaxies. When you tend to your space with care, you align with the organizing principle that keeps planets in orbit. Every mundane act contains the seed of sacred potential. Herman Clyde discovered this truth while washing dishes in his modest home. Rather than rushing through the task, he began treating each plate as a sacred object, each movement as a meditation. This plate holds nourishment, he would think, blessing the ceramic surface beneath his hands. This cup brings refreshment, he would acknowledge, watching soap bubbles shimmer with rainbow light. Soon, his kitchen became a sanctuary. The simple act of cleaning transformed into a ceremony of gratitude. His family noticed the shift. Meals became more peaceful, conversations more meaningful. The entire atmosphere of his home changed, not through grand spiritual practices, but through the conscious blessing of ordinary moments. What appears mundane to untrained eyes glows with divine light when perceived through awakened awareness. Every drawer you open can become a prayer. Every floor you sweep can become an offering. The sacred does not demand pilgrimage to distant lands. It awaits recognition in the rhythm of your daily life. Practice. Choose one simple task today. Washing dishes, making your bed, preparing a meal, and perform it with complete presence and reverence. Notice how the ordinary transforms when touched by sacred attention. Let each movement become a blessing, each breath a prayer. In this way, prove to yourself that everyday moments become altars when seen through eyes of grace. Chapter 35. The frequency of compassionate boundaries. In a small village where kindness flowed like water, Julia Bell's heart knew no limits. Each morning she rose before dawn to bake bread for hungry neighbors. Afternoons found her tending to the sick, while evenings were spent counseling troubled souls. Her giving seemed endless, yet slowly her inner light began to dim. The universe speaks through exhaustion. When our energy depletes, it whispers a sacred truth. Even the sun must rest beneath the horizon. Julia discovered this wisdom only when her body forced her to pause, when her spirit could no longer sustain the constant outpouring of herself into others' needs. Within silence, she remembered that the ocean itself has shores, that gardens thrive behind fences, that even temples have walls. These boundaries do not diminish their sanctity, they preserve it. The divine current flows most purely through vessels that know their limits. In the neighboring town lived Leroy Dean, whose story mirrors this truth. Once known for never refusing a request, he found himself empty of joy, his yes-saying becoming hollow ritual rather than true service. Through inner guidance, he learned the art of gentle refusal, declining with such grace that both giver and receiver felt blessed by the boundary. "I honor you," he would say, "by honoring my limits." Soon his reduced giving carried greater power, like concentrated light rather than scattered rays. His no became as sacred as his yes, each refusal protecting the purity of his future gifts. These teachings reveal nature's subtle law. Boundaries are not barriers but sacred containers. Like riverbanks that direct water's flow, personal limits channel divine energy with purpose. Without them, power disperses, losing its transformative force. To deny our limits is to deny our humanity. To embrace them is to align with divine wisdom that teaches through the rhythm of day and night, the cycle of seasons, the ebb and flow of tides. Each natural boundary serves life's expansion rather than restricting it. Sacred practice. Sit in quietness each morning. Place your hand upon your heart and whisper, "I bless my boundaries as vessels of divine love." When requests arise, pause to feel if your energy aligns with giving. Let your yes be full and your no be gentle. Draw your lines with love's wisdom, knowing that protected peace serves all. Through this practice, watch your kindness deepen as it flows within sacred bounds. Chapter 36. Becoming light-hearted power. In the quietest hours before dawn, Francine Jo would sit in rigid meditation, her brow furrowed with the weight of spiritual pursuit. Each morning she approached her practice as though ascending a holy mountain, solemn, stern, and strict. Yet manifestation remained elusive, like a butterfly avoiding an outstretched hand. One morning, as she sat in her usual grave contemplation, her cat knocked over a plant, creating such comical chaos that laughter burst from her unexpectedly. In that moment of pure, unguarded mirth, she felt lighter than she had in years. The very air seemed to shimmer with possibility. Within days, the very blessings she had so seriously pursued began appearing effortlessly in her life. The universal truth revealed itself. Joy is not separate from spirituality. It is its very essence. The divine current flows most freely through hearts lifted by laughter. When we release the notion that spiritual practice must wear a serious face, we align with the natural state of creation itself. This truth found perfect expression through Wilbur Ray, whose hardware store faced imminent closure during economic hardship. Instead of surrendering to despair, he began greeting each challenge with gentle humor. When the roof leaked, he placed buckets about and called them indoor water features. When inventory ran low, he rearranged his shelves and proclaimed them artfully minimalist. His customers, drawn to the lightness of his spirit, began returning more frequently. They brought friends. Soon, his store transformed into a community hub where problems found solutions amid shared smiles. What could have been his downfall became his upliftment, all because he chose to dance with difficulty rather than wrestle it. The secret lies not in denying life's challenges, but in meeting them with a light heart. The universe itself was born of joy. Every star, every planet, every atom spins in a cosmic dance of delight. When we align with this fundamental frequency of creation through laughter and play, we become natural channels for abundance. Sacred practice. Each morning, begin your spiritual practice with a smile. Find something that amuses you, a memory, a thought, or simply the divine absurdity of being human. Let this gentle mirth infuse your prayers and meditations. Throughout your day, whenever worry approaches, counter it with appreciation for life's lighter moments. Thank the universe for joy as evidence that you already vibrate in harmony with infinite good. Watch how your manifesting power amplifies when approached with playful reverence rather than solemn strain. Chapter 37. Remembering the Collective Heart. Delamay spent countless hours in solitary prayer, seeking abundance while her garden withered from neglect. Each morning she would meditate alone, visualizing only her personal success until one spring day, she noticed her elderly neighbor Martha tending to her roses with such infectious joy that passers-by would stop to smile. Soon, Martha began sharing her blooms freely, and something shifted in Delamay's understanding. The universe whispers its deepest truths through connection. As Delamay watched Martha's generosity ripple through the neighborhood, her own prayers transformed. She began including others in her visions of prosperity, and mysteriously, her own manifestations accelerated. The garden she had neglected flourished when she started growing flowers specifically to share. This truth echoes through the ages. Abundance multiplies when hearts beat in harmony. The divine current flows most powerfully through vessels that recognize their connection to all. When you expand your vision beyond personal gain, you tap into the infinite circuit of universal prosperity. Ralph Boyd discovered this principle in his small town's business district. For years, he had focused solely on his bookstore's success, until one meditation revealed a broader possibility. He began visualizing prosperity for every shop on his street. The cafe next door, the antique store across the way, even his supposed competitors. Within months, the entire district transformed. As Ralph held space in his heart for collective success, customers seemed to multiply for everyone. His own store's profits doubled, but more importantly, the whole community pulsed with renewed vitality. The divine mathematics proved simple. When one rises with all, abundance flows unobstructed. This teaching illuminates a fundamental truth about manifestation. It thrives in the soil of unity consciousness. Your prayers gain momentum when they embrace the whole rather than grasp at individual portions. The universe responds most generously to hearts that understand this sacred algebra of interconnection. Sacred practice. Each morning, settle into stillness and begin expanding your circle of blessing. Start with yourself, then extend to family, neighbors, community, and beyond. Visualize prosperity touching each life connected to yours, like sunlight spreading across a valley. Feel the joy of collective uplift until your personal desires naturally align with the highest good of all. Let your manifestations become offerings to the whole, and watch as abundance returns, multiplied through unexpected channels of grace. Chapter 38. The Eternal Now. In a small village tucked away from bustling cities, Polly June spent her days marking calendars and postponing joy. Each morning she would whisper, "When the time is right, I'll begin." Yet the seasons turned, and her dreams gathered dust while waiting for perfect conditions that never arrived. One autumn afternoon, as golden light spilled through her window, Polly June watched a sparrow build its nest. The bird didn't hesitate or plan. It simply worked with what the present moment offered. In that instant, understanding dawned like sunrise in her heart. Creation knows no tomorrow, only the eternal now. This truth exists beyond the realm of mere thought. It pulses in every heartbeat, in each breath that fills your lungs. The universe operates solely in the present moment, for it is the only point where divine power flows. When you postpone your alignment with this power, you resist the very force designed to lift you. Martin Cole discovered this wisdom while tending his garden. For years he had dreamed of creating a sanctuary of beauty, always thinking, "Next season, I'll begin in earnest." Then one morning, he simply started appreciating the soil beneath his feet, the tools in his hands, the sky above. His gratitude for the immediate moment transformed his garden into paradise faster than any future planning could have achieved. The divine current flows perpetually through the now, not in some distant time you imagine will be more suitable. Your power to create lies not in tomorrow's promises, but in today's presence. When you fully inhabit this moment, accepting it as the only point of power, manifestation accelerates beyond logic's expectations. Consider how water flows through a hose. It cannot pass through a kink in the line. Similarly, consciousness cannot flow through a mind fixated on future moments. The eternal now is your point of connection with infinite possibility. It is here, in this breath, that you either align with or resist your natural creative power. The practice. Throughout your day, pause and return to your breath. Feel its gentle rhythm and affirm, in this sacred moment, everything I need already exists. I choose to be fully present with the power that creates worlds. Let each breath remind you that now is the only moment where miracles take root and bloom. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. The wisdom woven through these chapters converges into a single radiant truth. Your divine power to manifest is not a distant gift to be earned, but an eternal flame already burning within. What you seek through prayer and practice is simply the remembrance of what has always been yours, the creative force that births worlds through thought and feeling. Every breath you draw serves as a decree. Every focused thought becomes a brushstroke painting reality, and each emotion resonates as a frequency tuning the universal substance to your inner state. To manifest is not to wrestle with existence, but to flow in harmony with the divine artistry already expressing through you. Choose your words with the reverence of one who knows they shape worlds. Let your imagination soar with the freedom of one who understands thoughts are seeds planted in fertile cosmic soil. Trust with the serenity of one who recognizes divine timing, never falters. Above all, guard the sacred knowledge growing within you. The deepening silence that follows true realization is not secrecy, but sanctification, the natural quiet that descends when wisdom takes root. As your understanding matures, the need to proclaim diminishes because your very presence becomes testament enough. This is the sublime simplicity of co-creation, the effortless dance between human intention and divine orchestration. Stand gently in this awareness. Let your smile be the only declaration needed. The universe has already responded with eternal yes to your deepest desires. Your role now is simply to allow what has already been set in motion, knowing that manifestation flows most purely through those who have found peace in their own power. The greatest truth whispers rather than shouts. You are, and have always been, a living expression of infinite creative force.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.